give this one more minute. I'll try and be a good Zoom coordinator and the chair at the same time, but be kind to me so I don't goof up on one or the other. Okay, there's Tim. I can see you, Tim. Can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you, Tim. So Tim,
Everybody have their Christmas trees up?
No, not, oh, there you go, Tim.
Oh, we just got done with ours, so.
Now can you hear us, Tim?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, excellent. Excellent.
I even made my first homemade wreath on my front door from scratch.
Oh, is that
Good
the
for you.
Pinterest instructions or something?
All right. We have a few more people joining us tonight, but I see it is 6:30, so why did I, oh, here's one more. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:30. And with that, would you please join me with the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States
States of America,
and to the republic
for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty and justice for all.
I move we approve the agenda, but not necessarily in that order.
I'll second.
Been a motion made in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion's carried. On the consent agenda, there's a couple of things that I want to pull. And why don't I just tell you which the two of them are? I just want to pull the setting the date for the caucus and renewing the Humane Society contract for 2021. Did anyone else want to pull anything else before we talk about that?
There's nothing that I want to hold on. It's just, I want to note for the rest of the board that in the treasurer's report, there's an additional bill for $100,000 for brushing and tree removal in December. Because we're not doing a lot of snow plowing, we had an opportunity to do a lot of tree cutting down in some of these areas that we haven't done it, and so we're going to do that.
Yes.
That's part of the treasurer's bill.
Excellent.
We don't need to pull it.
Excellent. Yeah, and with all the good weather, with the county can take trees and brush cutting, this is an ideal time to do it. All right. With the caucus, I just wanted to bring everyone up to date on the caucus. Vicki, the town clerk, and I have both talked to our town attorney. Everyone is concerned about COVID-19 and the small space that we have at the town hall if a lot of people show up for the town caucus. I talked to our town attorney, as Vicki did, and he talked to the town attorneys at the state. We cannot hold votes through Zoom. We have to do any voting in person so that we know who the people are and where they're from, and to protect the sanctity of a private vote. It can't be done publicly. If it comes to 3 people being nominated, we have to vote it to 2. I did check with several people, and I think the best option that we have, this is for the board, but the school was very gracious. They offered the Hudson High School to us. We could park right in the front. There's more than adequate parking. They have a large, they call it the forum room, the minute you enter the space, so no one will get lost. There's restrooms there. And what I am proposing tonight is that we separate the town caucus from the town meeting. Our town meeting is on the 5th of January. It's always the first Tuesday, but the school said that they would reserve Monday the 4th or Wednesday the 6th at 6 p.m. And I didn't ask, but I'm assuming they give us a fallback date of the 11th and the 13th. So I'd like to discuss it with the board, but I really think that's the best alternative for us. We can social distance. It's open at that time. There'll be people that can come and go to use the exercise rooms, and there's other meetings going on. And if we went somewhere else, like the EMS building, they are restricting access to their facility because of COVID. So with that, I'll just throw it out to the board members. Does that sound reasonable to you? And is there a date that everyone prefers?
Don, you need to just act on the consent agenda first.
Okay. All right, let me
I
do a
move
motion.
we approve the consent agenda items
Okay, do I
that
hear
are
a
still
second?
on here.
Yeah, and I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. All right, now.
Now you can take it. Now you can talk about the caucus and then.
Yep.
I'd like to move that we do the caucus at the high school at 6 p.m. on January 4th and use the forum room.
On
I make
Monday,
that
January 4th.
Monday, January 4th.
And would you like to add to your motion in case there's a massive storm that we would use the 11th as a fallback date?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. There's been a motion. Do I hear a second to it?
I'll second that. Ken.
Ken, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion's carried. Okay, and the only other thing I wanted to just mention on the Humane Society contract, I know that's very important that we keep that contract in place with the Woodbury people. So I just wanted to reiterate for everyone that we do not want to let that lapse. All right, committee reports. Anything to report on fire?
So why did you pull it, Don?
I just wanted to talk about it.
Well, now you need to act on it.
So we need to act on it.
Okay.
I
All right,
would,
do I hear?
I would
do I hear-
move we renew the Humane Society contract for 2021.
Okay, do I hear a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion's carried. Committee reports. Fire?
No fire.
No fire. That's good.
Hmm.
No fire is always
Well,
good.
we just haven't had any meetings.
Okay. But the new facility's up and running, right?
Yes.
Library report. Anything for the library to report?
The Hudson Library is in the process of renewing the rental agreement with the city of Hudson for 1 year. The new Hudson librarian job position is going to be posted starting January. So this will be just in time for students that are graduating. And they are putting forth a new Golden Rule campaign. So hopefully you will see this throughout our township and throughout. I think it's a very, very nice campaign. So other than that, all's well.
Was that golden rule part of that mailing that we received, or is that separate and apart from that?
It's separate. That is separate.
Separate, okay. All right, thank you, Susan. Towns Association, we won't meet again. We did not have a meeting in November or December. And EMS, nothing, no formal meetings on EMS. Informally, I've heard that they've had, visiting with John, that they've had a lot of emergency runs. I will say ambulance runs. I don't know if they're all with lights and siren, but they've had a lot of requests for their services. Chairman's report, and road update, I'm just gonna keep that short tonight. The snow plows are ready to go. We've talked about the brushing contract. Hopefully we won't have to use the snow plows until January. Public comment. You can only speak on items not on the agenda and keep it extremely brief. Is there anyone that wanted to speak under public comment?
I do. This is Andrew Nelson,
Okay,
833 Moonbeam Road West.
okay,
I'm here to ask that an item be added to the agenda for the January meeting regarding, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact ordinance in front of me, but it's an ordinance requiring a permit associated with temporary storage on one's driveway, such as one of those things called a pod, that type of thing. I received a statement or a letter from Brian Wirt, the building inspector, regarding a pod that was placed in my driveway. And I'm going to be asking that the board review the ordinance for a couple of reasons. Number one being that there have been clearly, just in my neighborhood alone in the last 3 years, a number of these pods in driveways. I've talked to a number of other residents of the township who have had these pods. And basically, I learned from Brian Wirt's office a couple of really important things. Number one, they've never received a request to enforce this ordinance in the 5 years that it's been on the books. And so for some reason, I'm being singled out for whatever reason. And I think that particular issue needs to be addressed, why there's being selective enforcement of the ordinance. And then secondly, there's a request to pay a $75 fee associated with the permit that is something that is generally permitted by right. And I'm confused as to what the fee would be for, because I don't see anywhere in the ordinance that I receive anything for the $75 fee. There's no action by the township that's taken associated with the permit process. I think that that's something that the board should look at in regards to the ordinance itself. And so I'm asking that it be added to the agenda. But finally, one of the main issues is that there's actually no procedure in place with the township regarding this particular ordinance. There actually is no application associated with that ordinance. They handed me a building application when I went into Mr. Wirt's office to apply for the permit associated with this matter. And so I'm going to be asking then at the January meeting that the board waive the $75 permit application fee. Once I received the notice, I took steps to have the pod removed from my driveway until we could get maybe some clarification anyway on this issue. So just something that I would like the board to consider anyway.
okay. Thank you, Drew. You know we can't act on anything tonight, but we appreciate
No,
you.
I understand. Just asking that it be added to the agenda so that action can be taken at the January meeting.
Any other public comment? Okay.
Yes, this is Marion Shaw.
Yes, Marion.
One is I agree with Drew 100%. So I'd be interested in hearing those comments in January, and I agree with his dilemma. But number two, the reason why I wanted to just speak is, I guess I really don't understand why the town hall is not open for these meetings. I really think and feel that doing meetings in this fashion do not give a good representation of government and to interact with government, especially with the people that want to attend. And I would really ask that you do what you can to open town hall for these meetings. And number two, I thought it was a rule that somebody was supposed to be there. At least that's the way this all started. So whatever you could do would be great. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Marion. Okay, next on the agenda is discussion on the St. Croix County ordinance for communicable diseases. I just want to update everybody as of late today. As the chair, I'm actually going to pull that agenda item based on our attorney's advice. He's recommended that we pull it from the agenda. His reasons are that the vote at the county was 10-9. The ordinance was not passed or tabled. It's moot. I really think the timing of our notice overlapped where it was on our agenda with the voting at the county board. I can hear a lot of talking on my line, so someone needs to mute it. Please do so. And so that makes the passing of this resolution moot. So with that, I'm going to pull that from the agenda.
This is Ken. Can
Yes.
I don't really agree with that. I feel like it should stay on there. It's not going to hurt anything by going through the process, because what they're going to do is keep coming up with more ordinances. And I'm not going to wait for that and get in the middle of the month again. I wish we would have just had it on the agenda in the first month. I didn't pay close enough attention to that. And I would like to leave it on in the agenda and have us vote on it, take a vote on whether we want it to go through or not. I think it should stay in, personally.
And how do we know what we're up against? I mean, we all agree that this ordinance was not our community did not want this. But if we don't know what we're up against, we're just going in a dark room until we see what they're trying to put up in front of us again.
I really think that there was numerous townships that passed it in time. We passed it in a meeting. We weren't able to enact it because it was before this meeting. It wasn't on the agenda as an action discussion. And I didn't pay close enough attention to that. I seen it too late. The agenda was out. There was no way. That was in November, or in before that, our last meeting, before our October meeting, November meeting. But I think St. Croix County needs to have, I just feel like St. Croix County needs a statement made to them that, how people feel about it. They're not listening to the majority of St. Croix County. They are not listening, and I think they need a strong statement. And I would still like to vote on this. I don't think it's going to hurt anything leaving it in. I don't see how it's going to hurt anything leaving it in.
I don't think it benefits either, though, Ken. I agree with Don. It died at the county level. I wouldn't be opposed to adding to the agenda for January a resolution, and then we prepare it if something else comes up in December at the county for this health committee. You know what I mean? Have Don put it on the agenda and just be prepared and write it if we need to. This doesn't tell us anything. This resolution, it died for lack of a vote. Failed.
I really think. Dan, you're muted, but I know you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to make a comment. I agree with what you and Tim are saying from the standpoint that the original resolution, or excuse me, the original ordinance, I think, was extremely broad, very much open to abuse. And so it'd be very easy to say that there's great potential, for constitutional abuse in that first ordinance. The second ordinance that then came into play, was a little bit different. It had some limitations and so forth. It was getting closer to, something that I think, might, be acceptable. But in either case, I think that we're kind of shooting at the wrong target at this point, because I think the next iteration that comes around won't have the same constitutional issues, or I expect that it won't, but it still may not be desirable or effective. So I think we have to address that next that ordinance, as it actually appears.
Well, and I appreciate everybody's comments tonight, and I value them. But I have to default with to our attorney. I think the reality is we all oppose that ordinance. We all stated it publicly. We got tripped up a little bit on how it was noticed, and that got us off on the timing. But Ken, I think we're all supportive of, let's actively monitor this with the.
Can I speak too for a sec? That, you know, I agree with you that it would, even if we did pass a resolution, it's just it's nothing they have to abide by anyway. It's just a resolution telling them how we feel. But the fact of the matter is, 9 of 19 supervisors voted against their oath of office that they took, and I didn't really appreciate it, and a lot of people didn't. At this time, that's fine. I have to go with what you guys want to do. I would just as soon go through a vote and pass it, but it sounds like I'm the minority here. I would like to compromise though and do what Tim said and throw it on the agenda for the next January meeting, because I'm not gonna. At this point, they like Marion has said in the past, they keep moving things around. They keep changing things. They got their corporate counsel, working every day. They're wasting county taxpayer money and time on this. And I want to be ready to have something put in if they pass something else that we deem unconstitutional. So if we could do that, I would request that. I would appreciate that.
Okay, I am very sensitive to the request, and I'll take that under advisement. And obviously, it wouldn't be the same resolution because we can't keep putting it on there month after month. But let's monitor it. Okay. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'd like to move on. I have people that are continuing to join us. I want to know. Let's see. Maybe some of these are dropping off and coming back. There's no one here tonight for the 200-acre Norlake concept plan, is there? Okay, the reason I'm asking that is I was contacted yesterday that they asked that be pulled. They're doing additional work on that. And so will you leave that for a possible future concept discussion as well? All right, I have one more question for housekeeping issues. Is anyone here representing, is Jim Rush here, or anyone representing Geraldine or Jerry Jacobs at 948 County Road A? Jim? Okay, I'm gonna pull that one as well. Okay, so those are my 3 housekeeping things here to pull. The other thing I'm going to do is move the agenda because we have Eric Hennensgaard, who is our outside engineering consultant, and he doesn't need to be on this meeting all evening. So I'd like to move up number 13, discussion and action on the site plan for the new building at 746 Sturbins Drive. And hopefully there's someone here representing that applicant.
Yes, this is Todd. I am here representing the applicant on 746 Sturbins.
Great. Todd, do you have access to a video at all, or just audio?
I do video as well, yes.
There. All right, Todd, would you like to?
Need his last name.
Zwiefelhofer.
You need that spelled, Vicky, or it's on this application letter. Todd, you want to spell it for us real quick, and then Vicky
Sure.
can have the minutes.
Absolutely, yeah. Z as in zebra, W-I-E-S-E-L-H-O-F-E-R.
Thank you. All right, Todd, the floor is yours. You've been to the Planning Commission. You've interacted with Eric Hennensgaard. You wrote us a nice narrative, and you've given us some updated plans. So With that, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we went through Planning Commission. This is a pretty straightforward application in our opinion. So I'm with Studio EA. We're the architects that are representing the developer who is proposing to build a facility that's going to house an audio-visual company. It is a one-story building. And like I said, we went through the Planning Commission. Don't see any issues raised by the Planning Commission. The only issue that was really brought up that was discussed was the requirement with respect to curbing around all of the bituminous. So there's some discussion with respect to how the ordinance is interpreted with Eric coming on board here. But the conclusion from the Planning Commission was to recommend approval of our site plan as we have it currently drawn, which has curbing between the parking area and the building and not necessarily curbing around the entire bituminous area, which is consistent with the interpretation of the ordinance in the past and all of the other buildings that are around this facility. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay, I have a couple, but for the board
Sure.
members, do you have questions of Todd tonight?
I don't. If you're ready for a motion, Don, I can do that.
Yeah, I
If
think
anybody else has, if you got questions, ask it. board
sure,
members.
yeah, if you're ready for a motion, let's bring it to the floor and then I can just share my comments there.
I would move approval of the site plan for 746 Sturbins Drive on Lot 19 of the Hudson Business Center development. The prints from Studio EA will be labeled as Exhibit A. That's that whole packet. No curb and gutter is required on the site plan. No, the parking is okay. The refuge container enclosure needs to be moved so it is not outside the lot line setback. The stormwater DNR permit will need to be applied for as required. We need to receive $60 for a new fire number and post for them for this facility, and a letter of credit in the amount of, and we'll have to decide that as a board, for what the total estimated cost of this project will be. It's 10% of that. Todd, do you have any idea what the estimated cost of this project will be?
Somewhere around $1 million.
Okay, so $100,000 for a 2-year letter of credit. Okay. And that's my motion.
Okay, I just want to circle back to your motion because you're hitting on my two issues, the letter of credit. And also, it's my understanding based on visiting with everyone is that the county does not need to review this for stormwater management purposes as it was looked at as the original plat approval. So that does not being subdivided. Tim, I'm not picking at your motion, but I thought I heard you say that no curb and gutter was required. You want to say limited curb and gutter because
Do they have sidewalks?
So, well, sidewalks, and it's around the front of their building and the side where their parking is.
So it's only where the sidewalks are if they're going to do it.
They added some, and just, I know we're in the middle of a motion, there hasn't been a second yet, but those of you I haven't met, I'm Eric Kenningsgaard with SEH. And hopefully you received a copy of the memo that I did for review. There are actually 2 of them, but hopefully you got a copy of the second one. And I guess just real quick on my reviews, what I provide for the town is I review applications in accordance with the ordinances and read through the ordinances and make sure that everything that is submitted is compliant with the way that your ordinances are written. So that's the basis of my review and comments and work with Todd and his group on some items. The biggest one at the Plan Commission was my interpretation of the requirement for curbs on driving surfaces and how that read. and included in the memo for that. But as Todd mentioned, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the site plan as presented. And Tim, the updated plan did include some curb from the sidewalk on the east side of the building wrapped around to the garage doors on the south side.
Oh, okay. Okay, then any place where there's curbs, any place where there's sidewalks, they should put curbs there. I agree. I would change my motion to curbs wherever there is sidewalks.
Okay. All right. The other thing, and yeah, because these updated plans have some additional landscaping and buffering up along the sanitary sewer area. The other question I have is with respect to the enclosure for the dumpster or the trash collector. I just want to talk through that with us as a board. I think it's in a very nice spot for backing in, and it's over 50 feet away from the property line. So where were you proposing that we would move that?
I don't care. It just has to be outside the setback. It can't be out in the setback. I'd pull it back into the parking lot further. What do you think, Todd? Where could you put it that it's not in the setback? It's a structure. Liz says it's a structure.
Yeah, so at the Planning Commission, that was discussed a little bit, and with Brian Wirt and with Eric, and I'm not sure if Eric did any more investigation, but the discussion was that the way it's built is it's a concrete pad with essentially a fence around it. And so a fence was allowed to be in the setback, was the interpretation, at least at the Planning Commission meeting with Brian at the time. So we were comfortable with where it was at and that it wasn't a structure, it was really a fence. But if people want to have us move that out of the building setback, then we would probably just push it further to the east, outside of the setback.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
You cut out on us, Tim. What was the last you said?
I assumed that that's what he would do.
Now, it would be our preference not to do that because that does get in the way a little bit in terms of some truck maneuvering, but it's probably something we can work with. So,
and just to add to the discussion on that point, everything that Todd mentioned, Brian did bring it up at the Plan Commission meeting. We discussed it just as Todd mentioned. I did look through the ordinance where it mentions the refuse containers and garbage dumpsters. And I've got it up here and I'll just read part of that section. It's in 105.12, what are we in here? C4. And part of that ordinance section says that shall be located totally within the principal building on the lot, or shall be located and stored within an accessory structure located in the rear yard of the property. Now, what does in the rear yard of the property mean? Does that mean that it should be in the setbacks, or is it in the rear? I guess leave that up for interpretation, but I wanted to bring that up during this discussion too.
Well, and Eric, because this is really our first implementation of having you help us with our ordinances, and Todd, I know you've been very gracious in working on this, but I guess I'm also looking at this dashed line here where it looks like your enclosure is a little bit in it. I mean, that I read this as the 50-foot building setback line, and I'm leaning way closer to the Planning Commission. I think a pad with a fence around it for screening is not classified as a building. And it's, you know, clearly a long ways from that other lot line. So
if you're going to do that, Don, we need to change the ordinance to take that out. If you're going to do that, I just feel that, Don.
I'm discussing this, Tim. I'm not advocating for it yet, but I know
yeah, you were.
I'm not advocating for it yet, but I know we have plenty of other.
Have we scrutinized other building enclosure fences? as much? I mean, is there some past issues where we've had this?
I don't think we have, at least not
I
while
kind of
I've
look
been.
at it the same way. I don't really, I don't know. I don't look at it as a building. And if it's not a building, it's not, doesn't, that's just how I feel about it. I mean, I don't, it's on the back side of the property, and I think it would, looking at the building and the parking lot for the trucks, it would be in the way of the truck. I mean, I don't see a big problem with it, but if it's
But
something.
the ordinance also says that can, but the ordinance also says it can be a block wall that's painted. Then it's a structure, which means we should change the ordinance to say if you're gonna put up a fence, it can be in the setback. If you're gonna put up a block wall, it's gotta be outside the setbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
We shouldn't leave it loosey-goosey.
I get it.
Well, this is the time that we're here to talk about it as a board. You know, the planning commission talked about it. We saw it in their meeting minutes of talking about this and possible updating of the parking ordinance. You know, I'm not hung up on this, but I think we could take a few minutes and talk about it as a board and see what we want to do in the future. My only question that I have to Todd is, you would move this north. You said you're going to move it east, but are you going to move it north then?
Well, if it would be required to be out of the building setback, then yeah, we'd have to move it to the north, roughly 10 feet as well, because our building setback on the south property line is also 50 feet.
Okay.
Is it truly only a fence, Todd?
Yeah, so we have some architectural metal that's on the outside of the building. So that's what we're proposing to build around this to enclose the dumpster. So it doesn't have a roof on it. It just has what is essentially a fence with the same metal that we're using on the building.
Which I get,
So it's
because
gonna
they're
look like
trying to
it,
make it look nice, you know, I mean, to me, they're trying to make it look nice, and it's on the back of the property anyway. I mean, to me, I look at it as a fence on a piece of concrete, but if it's something we need to change down the road, then we should look at that, because I don't.
Yeah, just
I
consider.
can live with it being where it is.
Can you say that again?
I can live with where it is if it's a fence.
Okay.
Then yeah, let's go with that then.
Okay.
And you need to change your motion, Tim. We don't have a second yet, so you need to change your motion.
The refuge container will be allowed to remain where it is on the site plan. Well, maybe we just, as a fence.
There you
The
go.
refuge container will be allowed to where it is as a fence, fenced in enclosure.
There you go. And then that allows us to look at all future enclosures as well. And all those comments are well taken. If they're architectural block and structures, then they've got to be back behind those setbacks. And Todd, I'm assuming that's an opaque material on there. The metal is opaque
Correct.
or some kind.
Correct, yes.
All right, I don't want to be
Okay.
talking about enclosures all night, but there's been a motion made. We haven't seconded it yet.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Okay. Any further discussion amongst the board?
I would just comment that that looks like a great addition to the township. So it's a great facility to have there.
I
Good
want to
comment.
thank Eric also for getting a hold of Studio EA and getting L11 updated with the trees out in the back. The original plan didn't have that, and I thank you that you looked at that and caught that. So the trees that are out there in the back, Eric, because that duplex that's back in the northwest corner is right up against the fence, and without that buffer, it would have been exposed.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep,
Great.
you're welcome.
Yes.
Thanks, Eric, and nice to meet you too.
You all as well.
On a Zoom.
All right. There's been a motion made. It's been seconded. Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Eric, for working together on this. It makes our lives much easier. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion is carried. Okay,
Thank you.
thank Todd and Eric. You're free
Yeah.
to join us for another 3 hours, or if you want to leave, that's fine too.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to knock out a couple more of these. As long as we're on this, I'm going to go right to, oh, Eric, hang on 1 second. As long as we're doing this, I'm going to go right to number 9, discussion and action on resolution 2020-5, adopting an addition to the schedule of fees pursuant to the code of the town of Hudson. And Liz, I'm glad you're here tonight. We had had definitive fees put in our residential part of our ordinance that we passed. And we have the ability to collect funds from applicants under the commercial zoning. But this resolution narrows it down with respect to, I'm just going to read it with respect to chapter 105 zoning as it relates to commercial, industrial, and commercial light industrial. An application fee deposit of, we're going to talk about that in a minute, for professional services. So just like we have a deposit for the residential, and then the ability to charge additional fees if the project gets too complex or protracted, we need to do that for the commercial. The suggested fee has been around $1,500 that we would collect. And I guess I'm open to that if there's any further discussion on that, but somewhere in that neighborhood seems to be a fair number for all parties. So is there any other discussion as to what any board members would like to see in there?
No.
Okay.
What is this really for?
What is?
I read what it says then. For commercial and light industrial, commercial light industrial. It's just for a lot, or is it for a development within that commercial area?
All the above. But this is primarily
$1,500 is light. I think we should require the same $5,000.
Well, not we couldn't. Let me back up. I don't have all the answers. Let me try and put it in context. I'm glad Eric is here. When Studio EA came in, we made it clear to them that under the ordinance that we passed, we have the ability to bill them back for fees. But what we want to do is collect a deposit up front so that they have any applicant has fees that they know that we could tap into. And if we spend less than that, we will refund it to them. But what we don't want to be doing, whether it's a CSM, 3-lot minor, residential, is we want to collect some of these fees up front. And most of the commercial that we have is, we don't have right now big blocks coming in. If we had someone come in on 80 acres, we could look at a different fee, but we tried to find something that made sense for these 2-acre, 3-acre lots that are still out there. So that's what concert with Liz and Eric and all the above, we thought somewhere around that $1,500 number made sense.
Yeah,
I agree if it's 2 acres, not if it's 80. That's the concern I have, Don.
Well, once you hit the
How do you know?
1,500, Tim, once you hit the 1,500, all work stops till they give you more money. So if you're only going to charge 1,500, that's fine, but we're just not going to go ahead and review anything until they bring in more money. So it's going to drag out the process a little bit.
So Eric, if you got a 2-acre parcel that you're looking at a CSM and it's a commercially zoned, how long will it take you to hit $1,500?
well, I didn't hit it with the Sturbins Drive development.
This is a site plan. This is not a CSM, Eric.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, but
Tim, I'd like to answer that rather than putting Eric on the spot. If that comes in, we're going to parrot the language that we have in the in the residential stuff. You know, we collect so much per lot, so much of a deposit, and any additional engineering fees that we encounter, we have the ability to bill that back. So they'd have to replenish that account. What I don't want to see on behalf of the town is what we have now, where we collect no money up front. Eric's doing work on our behalf, and then we have to go to the applicants and say, hey, you need to pay us money here for this. I think on behalf of the town, to protect them, that we should have some protection there, that hey, we're serious about this. This is our fee. This is our deposit. And, you know, if we don't use it, you'll get some of it back. And if we need more, you're going to have to add to that deposit. That's how it's been structured. Liz, am I missing anything here? Because we've talked about this endlessly.
Yeah, and this does not apply to subdivisions or CSM. This part of the deposit only applies to an application for one building, one site plan, one lot, and so forth, for the commercial, light industrial type thing. Eric did much more on review on this particular Sturbins project than was anticipated when we got into this originally. But it is a good example, and it was a job well done that pointed out multiple items. And he did sort of comment that he came close to that 1,500, but again, it's an initial review. And it was just a guesstimate that was established for that purpose. And if you're going to get into, Tim, like you're saying, 8 acres or 20 acres or some of these 40-acre ones, you're going to have to look at, don't cringe, but a developer's agreement that's going to be more than $1,500 deposit.
Thank you. I agree.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Now I got one other thing before you go anywhere, Don. We need
Okay.
to change it to resolution 20-4.
Yes, but if you're gonna make the motion, Tim, say resolution 20-5, because that's how it was on the
Okay.
agenda, now known as 20-4, 2020-4, since the 4
Okay.
one got pulled off, but
Okay.
keep them in order for, you know, but that way the minutes will be nice and clear.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to do the motion, Don?
Please. Yep.
I would move approval of resolution 20-5, now known as 20-4, because the 20-4 never happened. And I would like to add $1,500 as a deposit amount in the resolution.
Excellent. Do I hear a second to that?
I'll second that motion.
Excellent. Further discussion? All right, and before we leave, I know we've thanked you a lot, Eric, but I know this was the first one through, and you have poured through our ordinances, so we really appreciate it, and you'll get more efficient as we go on.
Yeah, absolutely, with everything. So, and I guess I'd mentioned too, you know, the review did go well. You know, there was a well put together plan. There are a few things that were missing, but just some simple back and forth, doing the initial review and then doing a second review and attending a plan commission meeting. The time does add up, you know, and so even with a good submittal, which I believe that was, it does take some time to do these reviews. And as you can imagine, if there's something that's submitted that somebody hand draws and doesn't have an architect, doesn't have an engineer involved, there may be some more back and forth. So this 1,500 is just that. It's an estimate, trying to, you know, be fair to everybody, but there's going to be ones that are more and ones that are less. And that's just the nature of it. And that happens in all communities. One other thing that I would mention that did come up at the Plan Commission, just because I have an opportunity to say it, is that the applicant is required to submit their materials 10 days prior to the Plan Commission meeting. Plan Commission meetings are on Monday. If you go 10 days prior, 4 of those 10 days are weekend days. So there you have 6 days, business days. And assume that I have additional work to do beyond applications coming in from the town, that I might not be able to work on it immediately as it comes in. Let's say I there's a day or two lapse, you know, it's still pretty quick being able to jump on it. Now you're looking at, you're in that last week before the meeting that you're trying to get comments to the applicant and get plan changes done. It's a long way of saying that the time frame is pretty short. And so as we kind of refine this process, and I think that it kind of needs to be that as we look at things and as we figure out what works best for the town and both the board and the plan commission and staff, that you know, we continue to refine the process. So one thing to consider, I think, would be a potential longer lead time on submittal dates.
Great.
I'm okay with that, but I think you need to add it to the agenda, Don, for
Oh, I do
January.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad, but, so I want to circle back. So there's been a motion made, it's been seconded on this resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion's carried. All right, and Eric, thanks for your comments, and I'm glad Liz is here, and I think what I'm seeing positively, which is great, is these things that need to be changing, we can pull them and address them quickly, and I think we'll all be better for it. So anything else on that? I want to move on. All right, is Rod Cook still with us?
I am, Don.
Hi, Rod.
Good evening. Hi.
You're on, I'll just introduce you. You're on for discussion and possible action on Indigo Ponds watershed. Last time, for the people who are joining us now, Rod had given us a brief background on under public comment. And I've asked Rod to keep his comments as succinct as he can, because we have received a lot of background information, and most of it we've read as a board. So with that, Rod, it's your floor.
Excellent. Yeah, so thank you again. Rod Cook. I live at 854 Prairie Meadows Drive. Thanks for the opportunity to address the board tonight. And Don, I wanted to personally thank you for listening to us throughout these challenging times that we've seen across our neighborhood since really started earlier this spring. And during that November town board meeting, I referenced a document that I shared with Don earlier, and hopefully everyone on the board has had a chance to review it. And that document was titled Indigo Ponds and Scenic Hills High Water Issues, a potential connection to Twin Lakes. And so that document really includes everything necessary to give you a background, the facts that we have in regards to the situation that we're dealing with. And so wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to review that. And to Don's point, no need to go into the details in regards to that. That being said, in short, a quick summary here as a reminder, you know, Twin Lakes, they're 10 feet higher than they should be right now due to errors that the Wisconsin DNR made addressing a 2004 environmental assessment that ultimately gave the village of Roberts a wastewater treatment plant discharge permit that exceeded the capacity of those lakes. We have proof of that. We have a third-party engineer, SEH, in fact, that has validated that. Without the DNR approving that wastewater treatment plant original permit and renewing it year after year, and I think they renew every 5 years, something like that, there'd be no flooding in Twin Lakes. And so with that, SEH has come in, they've done their research, and what they've told us is that the wastewater treatment plant in Roberts is adding 6 inches of water level to those lakes every year. As I mentioned during the November meeting, the SEH report was confusing, as they stated that the Roberts wastewater treatment plant was contributing 12% to the lake level rise. That has led some to conclude that the contribution from the plant is insignificant. What SEH didn't share was that 12% equals that 6 inches of rise. So this is significant, and the proof can be seen by all the homes that are flooding over in Twin Lakes, and a bunch of them that will be flooded here if no action is taken. So as we've been spending time and researching this deeply, hydrology data indicates that the Twin Lakes is seeping twice the normal rate that it should be because of that additional 10 feet of water that's on top of those lakes. Why is that important? Well, groundwater flows in our area from east to west, southwest. And us here in the township of Hudson, Indigo Pond specifically, Scenic Hills, even south of 94, we're just about 2 miles due west of Twin Lakes. That additional wastewater on Twin Lakes is increasing the groundwater flow and potentially raising the water table here in Indigo Ponds and the surrounding neighborhoods. Now I say potentially because we don't have proof that what's happening there is a direct result of what's occurring over in our area. However, we do have verifiable evidence from SEH, along with a gentleman from the USGS that has stated that there is a possibility, and in some cases it could be a likely possibility, that that excess water is creating the issues we're seeing in our area. And they're starting again to show up in multiple areas here in the township of Hudson. So we've been trying to get the DNR's attention, and we've been unsuccessful. We've had sent numerous letters of requests to attend meetings that we've been having. We've asked for their response to a number of questions that are just specific to SEH's report. In the village itself, Village Roberts has even stated that they've been unable to get the DNR's attention. Now, they are amping up communication, and we're hopeful that we'll get the DNR's attention here. But since this is an issue that may now be affecting us in the township of Hudson, one of the questions I had for the board is whether the board would consider supporting the Village Roberts by contacting the DNR directly. You have the information, right, that we've shared, and as Don mentioned, there's all kinds of background and data and facts, the SEH report, the document that I created that gives the background. And so our hope was that the board would engage at a level to show the interest in protecting the township of Hudson. In the event that what's happening there is creating problems for us in the township. And as you all know, and we put this in our previous document, home values are being impacted. There's no question about it, right? We've got people moving out of their homes in Indigo Ponds now because of the water. One neighbor has reduced the value of their home, the original list price, by over $100,000, just trying to get the home to move. Major concerns here in our neighborhood in terms of housing, of house values, and attracting more residents here to the township of Hudson. And so that's question one. Question two is really around, again, engagement from the board and the interest in helping us here. Twin Lakes area, they've created what they call the Twin Lakes Joint Committee. And that has representatives from the Village of Roberts, the town of Warren. So the boards, those two boards are represented on the committee, along with residents from the town and the village. We're working with that committee now to see if they would allow Hudson, the township of Hudson, to have representation on that committee, because that's where the action is happening. That's where we're trying to work. Even now, we're sending a letter to Governor Evers and trying to get his attention to engage and hold the DNR accountable to a mistake that was made years ago, and that we've been unable to get them to admit to at this point. And so that committee meets in January. I don't have the exact date, but I'm hopeful that the committee will be open to allowing some Hudson representation on that committee. I'd be surprised if they won't, because many of us in the township of Hudson have been attending their meetings, have been attending the village and the town board meetings. And so the other question then again to the board is, would the board consider assigning someone, having a representation from this board on that Twin Lakes Joint Committee? So that's what I had done. Hopefully that was short and brief enough, but that's where we're hoping for some engagement from this board and see if we can help protect the township of Hudson.
Thank you, Rod. Your Twin Lakes Joint Committee that you mentioned, do they meet Do they have a fixed time when they meet, or you're still somewhat ad hoc at this point?
Yeah, they had a regular cadence, Don, and then the past few months they hadn't been meeting. But as a result of some of us from Hudson and from Warren, we got them to re-engage, and they're starting those meetings up again. Again, first one is going to be January sometime. I think January 8th is the date. I could be wrong there, but I can certainly share that information with you, Don, when I get it. And the intent is to have a regular cadence. I think they were meeting on a monthly basis, same date, same time every month.
And who attends from the municipalities, from Roberts and Warren? Are they supervised or?
Yep, some supervisors from those boards. I can share again the names, the construct of that. We've got, gosh, now I'm going to forget her name, from the village of Roberts. One of their supervisors from the village is on there, and then similar for the town of Warren.
Okay. I just would like to open up for the board. Do you have questions of Rod or comments? Or?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Our chairman's been keeping us pretty abreast as to what's going on. I mean, I think you've been doing a pretty good job keeping everyone informed on what's going on with that, with our part of the problem. And I do believe it's part of the problem. So with that, I definitely think that someone should, I mean, maybe we should have some representation on that. So, you know, either if Don, if you want to do it, or, you know, so you can kind of spread it out. But I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that, you know, some representation probably would be a great idea. I don't know if there's a whole lot we can do, you know, and we're kind of in a situation where, you know, we can lobby or whatever, but I mean, it's really, it sounds like it's pretty unknown, really. I mean, we can't really definitively even say that, you know, what the source is, but, you know, it's certainly, it's indicates that there should be some more study, some more research into determining what's causing this.
That's exactly right, Dan, and that's another action that we've been taking as just the residents here, is trying to see if we can work to secure some grant dollars to help continue to research this. Again, there's enough data that would indicate it is possible. And as you take a look at precipitation levels, increased humidity over the past number of years, when you do the math and we run that by the hydrologists, right, they're in support of the fact that, yeah, there's more going on here. What is it? Is it actually Twin Lakes? Can't say. We don't have that proof, but certainly something else is happening beyond a lot more rain coming each season, right? Because the math doesn't add up. So we, your representation in and of itself would give this strength, right, in the support of the village and the surrounding communities. Because what we've been doing thus far is it's just residents trying to wave a flag and get the DNR's attention. We've even gone to the secretary of the DNR, Preston Cole, and unfortunately, they're responding, or lack of response, around the fact that, you know, we really don't have much of a voice. It's a bunch of homeowners that are being pushed out of their homes until they start hearing from the village representation and boards. We feel that will continue to struggle. So just the board saying, yes, we're interested in helping support this, whatever that looks like, but engaging with Twin Lakes would go a long way, I believe, in helping us accelerate finding a solution to the issue.
Can I say something, Don?
Sure.
I would agree. And the biggest thing, thank you for your report, Rod. I've read it all.
Yeah.
And as I read through it, I came to the general conclusion that until that sewer plant reaches the floor of the sewer plant, the DNR ain't going to do a damn thing. Right. And you can't just run that water off into some other stream, because a lot of those streams in that area are natural trout streams or freshwater fish streams. And as a consequence, it's going to take a lot of years before they're going to be able to find someplace they can dump that water and pump it to. And it probably will have to go to the St. Croix River and get the DNR to admit to that. So until we start moving that process forward, it's going to be a struggle.
That's right. Yeah,
But I agree. We ought to put
we've been working on
Representative
this for, gosh, Tim, really digging deep into this situation for almost 4 years now. Now, I just got engaged this year in Hudson, but Twin Lakes area under the leadership of Dan Funk and Chad Posta and others, they've been trying to get the attention of the DNR for almost 4 years. And so again, the more voice we can get from folks like yourself, we believe we can break this loose, because eventually, if it continues to rise at the rate it is, and there's no reason to believe it won't, because it has since 1962, not only are more people going to be displaced from their homes, but to your point, Tim, we're trying to get an answer from SEH right now. And what's the maximum capacity? At some point, it's going to overflow and go somewhere else beyond flooding the wastewater treatment plant, which, oh, by the way, when that happens, and it will if they don't stop, the whole town of village of Roberts is going to be without plumbing. And so we're concerned that they got this freight train coming at them, and it may be too late if we don't start moving now to address it. Even 94 is at risk. We've even talked to federal agencies around the interstate is at risk if this doesn't stop.
Any other
Do you want to
comments?
serve?
Say that again,
Do you
Tim.
want to serve on the? Do you want to serve on the committee?
You know,
Do
I don't mind serving on the committee at least to get us up and running. I think that would be a good continuity. But if there's other board members that are willing to serve, especially if they're meeting on a monthly basis, I think that might help.
I could.
You could serve on it?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to start serving from the beginning, Tim? Or would you like
can.
Okay.
It's up to you. It's up to you, Don.
Rod, did that work for you?
Absolutely, and I really appreciate it. And so, yeah, Tim, I can work directly with you and make sure that you have the information on Twin Lakes. I'll learn more here likely this week, but get you everything you need in terms of moving forward.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Yes,
I don't think we need a
welcome.
motion. I don't think we need a motion for that. Have Tim attend, and you guys can get contact information. You can always contact me. I'll stay part of it. So,
excellent.
Any other discussion tonight? Okay, hearing none. Rod, anything else from you? Or you?
No, I really appreciate the board support, and Tim, look forward to working with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rod. Thank you, Tim. All right. Next one we have is the Election Hero Day proclamation from the governor. And I hope all of the supervisors read this.
The governor proclaimed November 2nd as Election Hero Day. I don't know why the 2nd, the day before the election, but
Day before, I agree.
yeah, it's crazy. But
I thought that was odd.
that's when he proclaimed it, and we got it long after the election. But I just need to thank all my election workers that have worked through this pandemic. We had 5 elections this year, and 4 of them were during the pandemic. It was extremely stressful. It was a lot of work. And many of them were here for all 5 elections. And I'm very grateful for their service.
Great. Well, we're certainly grateful for your service, and Chris and Liz and Tim, and I'm sure I'm leaving people out here. I would just read the center part of this proclamation for the people that are online. It says the Election Hero Day provides all Wisconsinites with the opportunity to honor our local election clerks, election staff, Postal Service workers, and all poll workers, including approximately 400 members of the Wisconsin National Guard, mobilized to provide support for this election day, and hundreds of troops who have assisted during the previous elections this year. So it's our election day hero, and thank you everyone for all of your work on this. Supervisors, do you have any comments you wanted to share?
Can I comment?
Please.
I just want to say I heard nothing but good things about our election process in our town. I know it was messy in other towns and other cities. Ours was very well organized. And I know when I showed up to vote, I showed up in person. I was back almost to the restrooms. And when I showed up, I'm like, oh my God, the guy in front of me actually brought a chair out and was going to sit down. And the line moved fast enough that the guy in front of me couldn't even sit in his chair. He went and put his chair back away, and I let him back in line. So we moved through real nicely, real smooth. So no, you guys did a great job.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other comments? All right.
Yes, I would
I agree with everything. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would second what Ken said, and of course, I was tempted to comment on some of the courage also of some of the people who are making testimony now in terms of some of the issues, you know, in other places around the state, particularly in Madison and Milwaukee area. You know, so and now I wouldn't want to change the resolution, but you know, it's good to honor those people who have been heroes in that regard also. So
Great. Susan or Tim, any comments?
I really have worked with Vicki for a lot of years with elections, and she runs a very tight ship and does an excellent job compared to any of the other communities around here. It's amazing. Thank you, Vicki. You do a fine job. You do. And we appreciate it.
yeah, agree. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that as well. And I did, with the people setting up time to come in and vote, Vicki and Chris, you do a great job taking care of people that get hostile over nothing. And I was observant of that. And you do a great job. And there's nothing you can do with people that are going to be upset about nothing.
Great. Thank you. Hopefully, we'll keep it at 4 out of 5 for the COVID-19, but who knows where we're headed in April. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Any other comments? Vicki or Chris, anything else you'd like to share with us? Okay. Next, I want to move on to discussion and action on the Plan Commission appointment. Some of you may know that Gail Qualls has asked to step down. He's served the town for years and years on the Planning Commission, and for his personal reasons and health, he wants to protect himself during COVID-19, and we respect that too. I'd like to nominate Greg White to replace Gail Qualls, and I'll make that as my motion. Do I hear a second to that?
I would second that motion for Greg White.
All right. Any other discussion? All
Yeah.
those
Don, could I ask what his you know, work background is? Do you have maybe a little resume or whatever you can give to us?
I can. Greg has been in the township for probably 40 years. He's served on various committees. He's retired, and he used to work with the University of Wisconsin at River Falls. So I think he'd be a good asset going back on the Planning Commission. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? The motion's carried. All right. under communications for future agendas, I'd like the board members, Tim had asked at our last meeting if we could do a workshop for our roads to make sure that we have everything buttoned down for 2021. And I would also like to update the board in closed session on some of the discussions on Old Highway 35. That's been over a year, but that's starting to come back onto the radar screen. So if your schedules would permit, we can do the workshop, and notice that is open. But I do want the ability to go into closed session briefly to talk about Old Highway 35. So with that, is there any time?
What is the statute for going into closed session?
The statute is exactly what I shared. You could talk to Paul if you need to for the proper wording, Vicky, but that's exactly how we said we should notice it. That it's a road workshop, and either as a subset of that, but Old Highway 35, we want the ability to go into closed session.
All right, I'll have to contact the attorney because you can't just put closed session. I need the statute. That's why I asked if you had it.
I do not,
Reference.
but he's waiting for your call, and he said if you have any questions to let him know.
Are we shooting about mid-month, Don?
Actually, I'd like to do something. Well, let me just take a look at my calendar here. Mid-month would be fine. We could do it as soon as like next Tuesday is the 8th. I don't see this as a long meeting, but I do want to make sure that we coming back to the workshop, that we know exactly where we're at on our roads and our budget numbers and all of that stuff. So I guess I'd kind of say the 8th.
I have something going on the 8th, so if I could avoid the 8th and do the 7th or the 9th.
I'm very open. I'm tied up the 9th and 10th. But other than that, and I guess I'd rather do it I'd like to do it before the 15th if at all possible.
Okay.
We could even do it this week if we wanted to.
Yeah.
7th works good for me.
This week, Ken? Which date did you say?
7th.
7th, Monday. Okay. And what time would work for you, Ken?
Again, 4, but if Vicky needs to be there, I can come earlier.
Okay.
I can come at 3 or 2:30.
Does that work could you make it at 3? Would that work for you?
Do 2:30. So I'm busy. I'm extremely busy right now. So 2:30, and then I'm gone. So
we don't, I don't know how I'd say this diplomatically. We can certainly have our meeting without Vicky. So if you prefer going back to 4,
you have to get someone to take minutes because it's an actual meeting. So it has to, you have to have someone.
We can do 2:30.
2:30?
Okay.
All right, 2:30, Monday, December 7th. Does that work for the rest of the supervisors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then Vicky, if you'd visit with Paul as to how to properly word it, and 2:30 p.m. and I'll get the Zoom invitation out. All right. Any other?
I'd rather do this in person. We're doing a working session.
Well,
we could do it in person. That doesn't. I'm open to either one.
It's closed, so we can do it in person.
Okay, does that work for the rest of the people?
well, the working session has to be open. It's not an actual meeting. You're not a working session.
Right.
You can't take any action.
Right.
So is it
Right.
a working session or are you going to take action?
It's going to be, well, it's good. The working session could be open to the public. We're talking about that. But the other one in private, we have to discuss that. So I don't know, but certainly know.
I think we're safe meeting in person. I'm for meeting in person.
I'm okay with that also.
Okay, Susan. All right, that makes it easier for all of us then. 2:30 p.m. Monday at the town hall.
Okay.
Correct?
And we'll do closed session
Yes.
first.
Good
Okay.
idea.
Yep, that works. Then you're there for the meeting and
And
yep, excellent idea.
the other thoughts, Don, you need to talk about is working session for pods and containers, applications for containers, and trash enclosure specifications. We should start picking some of that stuff off. You know what I mean? That we keep hearing. I don't understand, frankly, how we've had an ordinance in place for 5 years that Brian Wirt has never done anything with those pods and containers. And the reason I asked that, Joe Kinney had one for at least 2 or 3 years on Bear Drive, sitting in his driveway. It finally disappeared in the last month. Never got an application. Brian never did anything about it. How does the board and the planning commission, and Brian was part of writing that, never do anything about it? Do we have to talk to Brian Wirt about it as a board? Do you know what I mean?
Do you want to try and do that on Monday?
On the 7th?
Not talk to Brian Wirt, but I'm saying we could certainly bring the pod ordinance along and take a cursory look at it.
I'd like to, and look for an application for him.
All right. I hopefully our workshop on roads won't be forever.
I agree.
So let's add the pods to it, because I'm glad Liz is here. We've got to start knocking these things off, from chickens to you name it. So
Yeah.
So let's say a workshop for pods and roads, however Ricky wants to notice it. And then we'd have something more concrete if we put it on the agenda for January. I think that would make sense.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion before I start asking for a motion to adjourn?
I have something.
Okay.
To Marion Shaw's concern about the town hall, being open, I kind of can agree with that, and I think it probably should be. And I would volunteer even just sitting there with the doors open if need be. I can go there and be there with my laptop.
Okay, so somebody has their
Jim Rush, I just turned on, well, I've been listening to you. Certified survey map for Jerry Jacobs. I got here late.
Oh.
Okay.
We don't have anything.
Hang on one second.
It was number 14 on the agenda.
Yeah, it was, Jim. So we pulled it because you weren't here, but you're here now, so that's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've never done a Zoom before. I've been watching you for about the last, I don't know, hour, but I've never done this before, so I'm green at it.
There's no harm, no foul. I think when we left off, when you contacted me and I asked you to talk to Vicky, is that you were going to get an updated plan that was approved by the county that we could look at. And I said I'd put you on the agenda for tonight. So where are you at with that?
I got from the zoning or the community development, I had shown the 3 borings and they wanted those removed from the actual certified survey map. So I've removed those. And I talked to Brian Wirt, and he had, I'm sorry, not Brian Wirt, Brian Halling, the county surveyor. And he had a couple things in the description. It was just changing the verbiage. So I've done that. Otherwise, everything remains as it is. The only thing that concerns me, by state statute, every parcel shown on a certified survey map should be either identified as a lot number, an outlot number, or some kind of a dedication to some organization or entity or individual. I had identified the almost 1/4 mile long access easement as an outlot, and I was asked by the Community Development Department to remove the label Outlot 1 because it doesn't comport with their definition of the dimensions of an outlot. My only problem with that is, by Chapter 236, Wisconsin statutes, every parcel shown on the map has to be given a label. And if I don't show it, as it should be, in my opinion, an outlot, but it's shown as an easement, then lot 1 has no direct access to County Highway A. So it doesn't comport with your subdivision ordinance. So what I'm asking is that, knowing I am in violation by doing what the county has asked, will you sign the map anyway? At least everybody knows there's a 66-foot easement. That's how you get to it. You come off County Road A.
Let me just back up for the rest of the town board and all the people that are with us tonight. And Jim, I apologize. I asked early on a lot of people, and you hadn't joined us yet, so that's fine. Me personally, I hadn't seen the updated drawings with the changes that the county was requesting. And because you hadn't dropped those off, and we asked if you were here, I just didn't think you had those drawings done. But here's where I'm at. As a chair, I'm not going to sign anything until I know that the county is in agreement with the final plans that you've submitted. And where I think we left off is you had asked if you could drop those off for me to sign it. And I said, no, I won't do that without meeting with you and Vicky and making sure they're approved by the county. So I just want to circle back. I don't think there's anything that we as a board tonight can say we'll agree to something that the county won't. And I guess all I'm asking is where are those changes that we talked about or that you just did now?
The only two changes were to erase information from the map. Everything else remains the same. The access is the same location, same lot. I removed showing the actual soil borings, and I removed the label Outlot 1, and it's now just called a 66-foot wide access easement, and it's located on the existing driveway. So nothing physically has changed in the map except to take those little pictures and labels off. The property corners, everything that was there, still there. The boundary is the same. The area is the same. The boundary description of the actual parcel that's being sold is the same. It's a 2.5 acre lot.
And you've got, you know, we as a town rely on the county. So you've got a letter from Sarah Burrell or someone that she's in agreement with your documentation, because we're going to look to that for Sarah's approval before we approve it.
Oh, she won't approve it unless you do. The only thing I got from her after finally talking with her, she put a Post-it note on my original map and said, please remove the 3 soil borings from the map. So I erased them from the map and erased the notation in the legend for the soil borings. And then she also wanted me to take the name Outlot 1 off the access easement, and so I did that too. Otherwise, everything looks the same. The description of what's being sold is the same. The access is the same in the same location.
Okay, it's becoming late at night for me, and I don't want to sound defensive in any manner, but then I truly thought, Jim, that based on your conversation with Vicky and myself, that you were going to bring those updated documents so that we could look at it as a board. And if it's approved by Sarah and says, yeah, this is fine, then I think we have something we could bring forward and approve.
Well, I was at the township at 6:30 and didn't realize you were doing the Zoom meeting until I walked up to the bulletin board when there were no lights on. And so a friend of mine allowed me to get on her computer. So that's how I've been watching your meeting. I apologize for not being there, but I was at the town hall.
So what do you have? Do you have the corrected documents then?
It's.
Do you have those
I do.
documents?
I do
Jim,
have the original.
I don't want to be,
And
Jim,
I don't know if you can see them, but yeah, I have the original. The only difference is erasing from the legend and the picture where the soil borings were and the label Outlot 1. Everything else remains identical.
comments from the rest of the board? Because it's not me
How many,
solely.
how many lots are served by that 66-foot easement, Jim?
The new lot that's being created is immediately south of that easement. And way at the west end of it, that's the driveway that presently goes in to serve the house that Bob and Jerry occupied. Jerry is still there. Bob, of course, has passed away. And so her daughter Julie wants to build on the 100 acres to get closer to mom. And that's the reason to create the 2.5 acre lot. But they'll both be served from the same existing driveway.
So there's just two driveways on that 66-foot easement, not three?
There's only one driveway on the easement that runs a quarter
But there's
mile
only one
west
house
of it.
back there today?
Yeah.
I always
Today,
thought there
there's
was two
one-
houses back there.
Well, there's the old McDermott house. I don't know. McDermott's were relatives of mine. It's been used as cold storage, talking with Jerry, for at least probably 10 or maybe a dozen years. It's really not habitable. Eventually, she's going to raise it. And that's where the old house, the old white frame house, will be raised. And that is presently on what we are creating as the new 2.5 acre lot. So there will be Jerry's existing house and the new house on this new lot. Just those two on the whole 100 acres, and they're both served by the single driveway.
And the single driveway stays on the larger parcel, is that correct?
That was, yes, and that's logical.
Right. I just would like just to hit a reset button. I think we as a town want to do everything we can to accommodate this. I mean, you're asking for one additional house on land that they've owned, but I want to come back to whatever changes that the county asks you to make, be it the surveyor or Sarah Burrell, then we need to see those changes on the final CSM that you're going to present to us with the letter from Sarah that says, yeah, we're good to go. You approve it at your meeting and we're fine with this. That's the process that we're the most familiar with. Which is why, just so you know, that's why I ask you not to drop off the draft documents to us, because all that's going to do is start confusing Vicky and me as to what the final plat is that you want to get recorded.
Could I ask you to talk to probably Sarah and tell her what you need? I will take my revised drawings to her tomorrow. Of course, they won't have your signature, but I'll take them in and she can see that I have done what she and Brian have requested. And if she would then give you a note so you can then approve it. Once your signature's on it, we'll get it recorded and Jerry can get on with building the new house for her daughter.
I guess my only answer.
I'm just trying to help Jerry.
I understand that. I'm uncomfortable doing that because, I mean, it's kind of like the old way that the town chair signs off on it. I just think as a board, we should see what the final product is, make a motion.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give you a copy.
Well, okay, and make a motion that we as a board approve it, and then you're good to go.
Well, I can drop with Vicky tomorrow the whole thing, all the revisions.
What does the rest of the board want to do tonight?
Okay, so be clear, so he's saying that he's going to drop off the documents tomorrow. That's been revised according to the county recommendations. And so the county has now signed off on those final documents.
They won't sign until you do.
Okay, but they've made recommendations and the recommendations are included in those documents.
Yes.
And Dan, that's the reason I put this on the agenda tonight, is that informally in discussions with Jim, is that follow through with the changes that the county wants, erase this, add that, get us the revised documents that we can review. I'll put it on the agenda tonight. If we see those documents and they look fine, like every other CSM that comes in, we'll make a motion to approve it. I think we're stymied tonight because we don't have that. And I'm just saying, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing tomorrow as the chair, of looking over that stuff and saying, oh yeah, this looks good. So.
Yeah, I guess the question is do we also have the cover document or the letter from the county that that provides the recommendations?
Well, you guys all
can
had
give you
one
the-
from October 12th.
Okay.
Right.
That's the last one, but I
Okay.
need 6 copies of that CSM.
Okay, I will do that, and I will bring the Post-it note that asked me to erase the soil borings. And my discussion with Brian Halling was all on the telephone. When I was county surveyor, he was my assistant. So we have a nice personal relationship. So I have nothing in writing from him, but it's all technical stuff. And I have made all of that. And Sarah won't approve it until Brian approves it anyway. So you know that she wouldn't approve it if the county surveyor hasn't approved it. So it's kind of like, which comes first.
The only thing, Don, and the reason I asked the question, I always assumed there was 2 houses back there. So when I thought we were approving the CSM, Jim, we were going to have a 3rd driveway on there. And that's why I figured you had it as an outlot. And so you're telling me that the old house is going to be raised, but I'm sorry. I look at other residents that tell us they're going to do something, we approve it, and now we're 5 years later or 10 years later and they have never done it. I'm concerned about that. That's all. It's a minor thing.
Jerry has had the soil test done, and that's why I showed the borings. The house has been used as cold storage, and it's really not habitable. I think I mentioned that McDermotts are relatives of mine. So I remember back when I was a teenager being in the house. It was a nice house then, but it's really not used for anything but cold storage, and it isn't really maintained. So Jerry is going to raise that in order to build the new house. So that'll be gone. So this lot will then serve just the new house that's proposed, and the new house will be served not by the old septic system, but by a new modern one and a new well.
So I guess
I get something.
I'd have liked to have had those discussions with the new CSM print, Jim. I would have. You know what I mean? Sorry, I just feel like.
I didn't understand your
I
question.
would have liked to seen your new CSM and had these discussions about the house being raised, a new sewer system, the old one being removed. This hasn't been in any part of the discussions before.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't realize it was relevant.
Well, our ordinance says you can't have 3 lots on one driveway without being a public road.
Well, yeah, and this will be this, once that old house is torn down and the new one built, it'll be the second house on the driveway.
I'm hearing that now. And I'm telling you, I've had other people tell me they're going to do that, and then it never got torn down. It becomes a rental unit or something else, mother-in-law's house.
Bob and Jerry Jacobs aren't that way. They're straightforward people. They're honest.
Right. But Jim, to Tim's point, and he's validating my point, we ask process driven, hey, make these changes. Like Vicky says, we need 6 copies. We look at it as a board. We would have made a motion then, subject to, hey, the house has to be raised within 5 years or whatever it is. The house is not, the third whatever the concerns of the board is could be put in that motion to approve that. And then you're good to go. Are you open to making those changes on the 6 plans for Vicky and coming back to the January meeting?
I'll have 6 copies to Vicky tomorrow morning. Jerry wanted to get going on this a long time ago, and it's been one holdup after another. So I don't have any say. She wanted to be digging before September. I'll do what I have to do to help her. But yeah, I'll bring copies tomorrow, explain what the changes were that Brian wanted and what Sarah wanted, and what else, whatever you need. I'll show up at Vicky's office in the morning.
Is the board
Can Don, can he take I need the copies. I think this is the first time it's really been on the agenda, because the other one was during public comment, I
I
believe.
haven't seen it.
Right, it was during public comment. I don't think we've ever actually had the real CSM. But if he brings me the copies, so I have them to distribute to you guys. If he takes the CSM to the county, the corrected, and we get the updated letter, the TRT letter from them by January, it should be, maybe they need to get the raise permit. They can get that. They could have got that in September from Brian and started working on that.
Okay, I don't know anything about that, but I will talk to Jerry about it tomorrow. I will leave the originals with you because they need to be, or at least page 2 needs to be signed. I will take copies to the county so she can see and Brian can see that I've made the changes they wanted. I just want to get it done as soon as possible. She's not going to be happy not being able to dig until January or February.
Well, it's going to be a tough dig either way, Jim. I mean, we could try and tack it on to the Monday meeting, but I really, honestly, I think we've talked about this endlessly as to what Vicky and the town needed here. So now if you're bringing it in tomorrow, and now we're still missing that step where we as a board get to look at all that stuff, just like we did it over the site plan today for EA Studios.
Sure.
So that whole step is missing. Now we have all those prints. Now we've got a letter from Sarah. I understand the sense of urgency, but honestly, you're starting a home in the middle of December, but we had ample time to be looking at this stuff as a board and having it on the agenda. So I guess
I agree, and I'm not gonna, without seeing anything, I can't approve anything, and I don't know. I say just get some hay bales out, and hopefully you can dig in January or February.
I don't think you're going to have the TRT letter back from Sarah by Monday.
Well, I will do what I can to help Jerry. I don't know what else I can do.
Any other suggestions to help Jim and Jerry?
Could we get a conditional approval or something if everything meets the conditions that the county and the township want, so she can get going sooner?
Boy, could we get the CSM on Monday? Could we even look at it?
I will drop it off tomorrow morning with Vicky. If you give me your email addresses, I can scan it into my laptop and email it to you. It's no different from the original, except the word outlot 1 is missing and the location of the borings and the indication in the legend that those are the borings. Otherwise, it's identical.
Well, let's do this for tonight. Why don't you scan that in, send it to Vicky. She can send it to all of us.
Well, And I'll have the copies in your box. You'll pick them up on Monday, or you can come tomorrow or whenever and pick them up.
Well, either way,
I'll come over and pick it up tomorrow. But I don't, let's answer Jim's question. I do not believe, Jim, we can give you approval on anything that really has never been on the agenda until now without anything in front of us. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
don't think we can do it.
I agree.
So I think the
Appreciate
best we
that.
can do is next Monday afternoon. Sorry.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I
well,
will tell Jerry.
and to be quite honest, I mean, we've got a full plate on Monday afternoon by the time we talk about our stuff. We weren't looking at a rush deal on somebody's CSM because we didn't have it prior to the meeting. This is the last time I'm going to say it. It was unequivocal in the discussion we had, Jim, that you were going to get those corrected copies based on what the county was and get that to Vicky so that we had it to look at for tonight's meeting. I mean, there was no misunderstanding on that.
I apologize then. The misunderstanding was on my end.
So if this is my feeling as the chair, if we don't have all of this stuff like greased lightning, I'm not going to make special exceptions just to put this on a Monday meeting. If we can, I guess Vicky can notice it, but if not, you'll have to come back in January. Those are my feelings.
Okay, I will tell Jerry in the morning, and I will have copies at Vicky's office. What time should I be there?
I'll be there at 9. You'll have to call me though, because the office isn't open to the public, so.
Okay, well, I'll be driving a blue Dodge pickup truck.
Yeah,
I'll
so
call
just
you
knock
from
on the window
parking.
or whatever, and I'll come
Oh.
get them from you.
Okay, how many copies do you need?
6 copies.
I'll have 10.
And send them out electronically. They might be in all in our mailboxes, but we can sure look at them electronically without driving out to the town hall. So would
it be better if Vicky sent them to you electronically rather than me
yes,
doing it?
that's what I said. Send them to
okay.
Vicky. Vicky can send them all on to us. So we can look at them.
But I still want to pay for
I
one.
still need the hard copies. So I
I know you
still
have 'em.
need 6 copies, paper.
You'll have them.
You'll have it. And I'm just saying, you said they'd be in our mailbox. And I'm saying belt and suspenders, please put them in our mailbox and please send them to us electronically so we can look at them without driving out there.
I'm kind of a
Scan it
Luddite
in,
on this.
Jim.
I'm kind of a Luddite on the computer. If I have the hard copy there, can Vicky scan them and send them to you?
Just bring the hard copies out to us, Jim. We'll find a way to get out and get them. I
Thank you
can't
very
continue
much.
this. I can't continue this on anymore tonight. Any other discussion from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussions for Ken? We were talking real quickly about having someone sitting at the town hall on a Zoom meeting.
I lost track of where we were.
Yeah, I just said if
Ken volunteered that he would sit out there if we need to. I went through 2 town's attorneys on this because Marion sent it on to the Attorney General. There is no reason when COVID-19 that we need to physically have someone sitting out at the town hall. Now, if there's someone that needs additional access to it, if you're disabled or something else, great. But if you're sitting out at the town hall, all you're going to be doing out there is sitting with your, whatever you have, your iPad, and you're going to have to get within 6 feet of whoever comes in there or have some type of equipment to rebroadcast that into the town hall. And I don't think that's wise with COVID-19. So, and I'm on solid ground with what the attorney told me on that.
I'm just throwing it out there. So if
Okay,
I don't know why
I'm fine-
all the other
I'm fine with that.
municipalities do
I'm
it.
just saying,
Why do all the other municipalities
I
do it?
have heard that.
Why are we the only
Well,
one not doing that?
if you want to call the town's attorneys and then go through
No,
it.
No. I'm just asking you why you've
I
got
don't
the only
know.
answer
I don't
that
know.
nobody else got.
Why would you? Why would you? Why would you? I won't name any names. Why would I go and sit at the town hall to say that I'm sitting at the town hall with no access to have anybody come and talk when all of the supervisors are sitting on a Zoom meeting? Now, the city has a
Yeah,
whole
that's
lot
the
more
only,
resources than we do.
I agree.
that's the only, and I agree with that issue is that, yeah, people really can't speak if they're there. All they can do is observe.
You're right. So, okay, I'm getting frustrated and I don't want to be. Jim, I
Right.
think you're a great guy. It's just late at night and
Yeah.
so I
Thank you
apologize.
for your help.
Esty. Anything else that we should talk about here at the end?
Thanks for your help. I'll see
Okay.
Vicky tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Jim. And anything else from the board members? Because otherwise I'll see you Monday at 2:30 and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.